If you want to just tell us your name, although a lot of you know each other, but some of you are meeting for the first time, you want to just tell us your name and something interesting about you, why you decided to go on the trip, what going on the trip means to you, again, why you decided to put in the time and the money, and also expose yourself to a very, very emotionally, psychologically challenging experience such as this, which not everybody chooses to do. What's your motivation and why you're going on the trip?
So the entire trip in Poland is one enormous impression. You can't escape the feeling of sadness. What you're learning here, what you're feeling here is truly real history. It is the most moving, the most emotional experience that I have gone through about 6, 7 times of what really happened. And then you ask yourself, and how could it have happened? How could it have happened? How could the world allow it to happen? And that's the question you keep asking yourself all through the trip. You have to be strong. I'm telling you these things because these are the sort of images that you're going to see. It's all images, it's all real. Nothing is false there, nothing is fake. And this is what you need to expect when you go through Poland.
But the whole trip is the intention of what's going to be for the future. So the whole idea is really about the life and how it can help each of you to improve and to grow in your own personal lives. For me personally, it's quite profound to be here in this cemetery. My great-grandfather is buried here. My great-great-grandfather is buried here. And my great-great-great-grandfather is also buried here. So it's very profound to be here.
That's a slap in my face. If I want to try and understand the 6 million, I have to zoom out of that black and white. I have to zoom out of the typical, stereotypical Jew that I'm assuming. I have to understand the map. I have to understand what the 3.3 means.
So being here at the Netziv, even if we can't go right into the actual, to the oil, it's a moment that you can all, daven for yourselves and for your family and have in mind all your tefillah should be answered.
Sorry, I always get really scared here. What if I say something that does injustice to them? And so in advance, I apologize. I'm trying my best. You know, we're standing right here, and I told you that this is the biggest cemetery. I said, and I don't know if you caught it, but I said there's 200,000 graves, and then I corrected myself, 200,000 people buried here. You're standing in the midst of a mass grave. You're standing in the midst of graves of our brothers and sisters, in the midst of 80,000 men, women, and children. 80,000. Do you know what it means to have a name? It means someone needed to survive. And that slapped me in the face. Do you know what it means not to remember someone's name? How many people need to die so that no one will remember that a Miriam Tekaziner lived? Forget Miriam Tekaziner. No one knew my last name. Miriam. How many people need to not be alive so that no one will remember that there was a Miriam? Holocaust has 5 stages. The first stage is identifying. Not only are they not allowed to participate in regular social gatherings or own any property, but now all Jews have to start being identified by a mark to the public. The 19th of April, Hitler's birthday, Warsaw is going to be clean of Jews. This is not the only way that people resisted. People also resisted by giving their food to someone that needed. People also resisted by taking their only oil that they had and lit Shabbat candles.
It just is reaffirming for us that we all have our own challenges, but we all have to find a way to persist the best that we can and to understand the impact that we can have. You saw Hitler was one person. Look at all the evil, look at all the pain, look at all the loss that he brought about. By the same way, look at when one person decides to bring about good in the world, how much they can achieve. Like my grandparents, they survived, and it's hard to even measure the impact their offspring and their descendants have all had. So I think that's the message I want to leave. We're here in this place I always heard about, the Umschlagplatz. So anyway, we're here. If you all want to, at one point before we leave, say a special tefillah, then that's going to be a great opportunity for you over here today. I stressed the last 15 minutes before we get here because I told you yesterday, I'm terrified. I'm so scared because what if I don't do justice? So I'm apologizing because I'm not going to do justice to the evil. I'm not going to do justice to how horrible this place was. And I'm not going to do justice to the people who want a slow death or the people that won a quick death. And so in advance, I apologize, and we try and we do our best. Us walking here today, a huge part of me wants to say that us walking and walking out is the victory. Another part of me is torn and that us walking here isn't fair. We shouldn't have to come here. How this place doesn't make sense. Look, it's freaking in the middle of Lublin.
And very quickly, Majdanek turns into partially a concentration labor camp and partially a death camp. They built 4 gas chambers here. They come up with this great technique. Before Zyklon B, before the gas canister, they're going to connect carbon monoxide, connect it to the back room, close it, and turn on the valve. It took 47 minutes, something like that here. 47 minutes later, all the people in the gas chambers were done. The first stage of the gas chambers here, they dug pits and burnt the bodies in the pits around. So don't tell me the people in the 3 houses next door didn't see, or didn't know, or didn't smell. But what can they do? Second stage, they'll decide, okay, it's not productive pits with fire, let's create a crematorium. And on the other side, and you can see the end of the camp, you can see the chimney of the crematorium. I'm not sugarcoating or putting anything here for a surprise till the end. No, there's a crematorium still standing here. The crematorium's at the end. How do you get the dead bodies? So someone else's job was to literally take a wheelbarrow and wheel the bodies from the entrance of the gas chamber, because you're not going to spend the time to take people to the other side, right? It will be someone's job to actually take corpses. Because if people are alive, they can resist. It can be chaos. You have to talk to them. It's too much. And so the dead bodies, once every few hours, were wheeled till the end. So every single prisoner, it's not like Belzec, Sobibor, Treblinka, or Chelmno, where the prisoners that are there have no idea what's happening till when they find out. From the first second you walk into Majdanek, you know there are gas chambers and there's crematoria. 80,000 people are killed here in Majdanek, and the truth is, and this is going to sound really, really weird, but most of them were not killed by gas. Most of them actually die in a few days in October in their Oktoberfest, and that's what they called it. Their Oktoberfest, where they have people go dance in the field as they're preparing to empty out the camps because the Soviets are getting closer. By July of 1944, the camp is liberated by the Soviets. It's the first camp liberated, so they're making sure, by the way, that there's no one left here to actually talk about it. Most of the prisoners they'll send out, and the ones who are left here, the ones who they need till the last second, they'll take out to the fields, they'll have them dance, they'll put on music, they'll put on classical music and have them dance, and then they'll just sit on top of the hill with machine guns and shoot them down. Chelmno, Sobibor, Belzec, and Treblinka, the 4 that their purpose was only death camps, by 1943 are done. By 1943, there are barely any Jews left in Poland. Those 4 camps, the Reinhardt camps, are to eliminate the 3.3 million Jews of Poland. And by 43, the trains are stopping to come. Do you know why they actually revolt in Sobibor? Leon says it in a sentence. They revolt in Sobibor because the trains are stopping to come from eastern Poland. In Majdanek, there's still a gas chamber, and as the Soviets are getting closer, they shut that down and close Majdanek. And by 44, the only place that is still standing, the only death machine, the only camp, is split into 2. A labor camp of Auschwitz, or Auschwitz II-Birkenau, and the death camp of Auschwitz II-Birkenau. I'm dedicating our time here in their memory, and in the memory of the 80,000 people that were killed here. Out of those 80,000 today, we know that about close to 65,000 were probably Jewish. And so, with great fear and with great honor, I invite you to follow me to Maidan. I invite you to follow me down. As you walk in, you'll see the shoes. Look close. Maybe you'll see a pair. Each shoe is a person. Look at the shoes, the red one over there. There's one over there, a summer sandal. One is a heel. The shoes that you see here are brought from all the different camps. The shoes from all the Reinhardt camps are brought to here, and here's where they sort them through. What can those shoes tell me about the men, the women, the people? There's so many places in the world where kids need shoes. There's one place where shoes need people. They were from all the Reinhardt camps, and all the stuff from here was shipped out. But if that wasn't your job, then your job was weeding the weeds and planting flowers and creating sculptures to decorate the camp. And so every time I took a body off, I sang Shalom Aleichem. And I asked the angels to take them. And I asked them to go up to get the respect that they need, that they so deserve, that I couldn't give in Shemayim. And he asked us, and I'm asking you, maybe you can lead us in Shalom Aleichem. Someone wrote a special Kaddish for right here. Not a real Kaddish. Give me the ability to hear. Give me the ability to tell. So that never again. But more than that, give me the ability to give them the Kedusha, the holiness that they deserve.
Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad.
What I felt most connected to on the second day of this trip so far was the pile of ashes that I stood by. My last name is Katz, and every time people ask me what my name is, I say Katz. Oh, are you related to this person? Are you related to that person? And my answer, before they even finish their question, is no. And the reason why it's no is because of the pile of ashes and the many other piles of ashes that are scattered around this country, because the Katzes that I would have been related to are in the pile.
And the glin, as I said before, is one of the four big cities, it is well known for its academia. They say that the fire lasts for 2 weeks. There are that many books that are burned here from the yeshiva. I told you on the bus, he said, we're not only taking care of the spiritual aspect of it, we in our yeshiva are taking care of the physical needs too.
Were they with fish or fish?
I started here because I'm standing, or 1 foot of mine is actually on the original tracks. The truth is both tracks are original. There were 2 trains over here. We're standing exactly in the middle between Lvov and Lublin. November 1941, they come up, Himmler, the head of the SS, decides that it's very, very, very clear. The Jews, it's not just a concept of getting the Jews out of Europe, but Europe has to be cleaned of Jews. And they're gonna come up with a special operation named after the General Reinhardt, which the point of it is to eliminate Polish Jewry. And Belzet is built for the Galiciana, for the Jews between Lublin and Lvov, from February till August. Almost 500,000, close to 550,000 Jews are murdered, are gassed here in Belzec. It stands for barely any time. They choose Belzec because the location. They choose this actual spot because there's a great train station over here. There's a ramp and it's easy to get the people off. Belzec told you one purpose, but the Jews arriving here did not know. They did not know what the purpose is, and when they came in, they knew they were arriving in a labor camp, and everything, till the second the doors of the gas chambers were closed, was to deceive them so they wouldn't know where they are. You would assume that there's hundreds of Germans. There's 10 to 30 Germans here, 30 in rush hour. The guards here are all Ukrainian. We're extremely close to the border, and they're all Ukrainians. Now, this may sound a little bit weird, but the Ukrainians worked here and lived in the town of Belzec, and the people of Belzec knew what was going on, because if you've ever seen any of those television shows where the sailors go to like a town and they brag about what they're doing, that's exactly what happened here. The bars and the people in the bars knew exactly what was happening, because at night the guards would come and would talk. The one survivor kind of drew-ish a map of how the camp looked. In the 60s, he testifies in trials against the Nazis. In 11 trials, he'll testify. And he keeps talking about Belzec. Only in '89, they actually come back and identify that this is Belzec. In June '43, it's done. They destroy the full camp. The Germans will plant trees and make this whole area, give a Ukrainian guard the rights to the land. They'll build a farm over here, and the whole field of the camp will turn into a Ukrainian farm. His job was to make sure, because there was rumors amongst the Poles that lived here that the Jews hid gold. And so they came and started digging up. And the Nazis didn't want anyone to know what was here. And so they planted trees all around, put a farm in the middle. In '89, the very religious Catholic Pole said, we need to do something about it. We actually need to make a monument here. And they come and they start digging. And they find 33 mass graves with 15,000 bodies each that weren't burnt yet. One of the Ukrainian guards in his testimony later will write that they filled up the graves and then burnt them. And you smell the fire of Belzec in all the towns around. The fire was constant, because every day they were burning the bodies. Almost 500,000 people here were burnt in pits. In '89, they're debating what to do. They found the bones, they found their bodies, and the Catholic Pole says, I actually contact different rabbinic authorities. I want to make a memorial that follows the Jewish halakha. I want to make a memorial that respects. And so I'm talking about the camp out here and not inside, because he said inside the camp, we're not talking about the structures and the buildings. The Nazis destroyed them. We're not rebuilding the camp to show you how it was. In a few minutes, we're going to walk in, and we're walking down in Gate Salmave. We're walking in the valley of the shadow of death.
Being in the camp today, the camp that was just rubble and was a monument, was jarring, because you could see the name of the town that my family came from. The trains that arrived from Snyanton, where they were from, there were 3 trains that came from there in 1 year. We now know what train they were on. We know what month they arrived in the camp. We know when they died. Looking at the monument with the name of the town that your family came from makes it personal.
So the Melech of the Shens was actually known, and they called him the Rebbe Melech, and he was in a sense like the Rebbe of Rebbes. And you see actually that some of his greatest followers after him ended up having their own huge followings. A story that we speak about, that people will often even just use it as like a phrase. They'll always say like, well, all I can try and do, I can only try and be like Zusha. Because he would say that you should never seek to be someone else, only seek to live up. He said, when I'm going to go above, when I'm going to go to Shemayim one day, they're not going to ask me, why wasn't I like this, why wasn't I like that? They're just going to say, you know, you have to live up to be Zusha. So that was one of his messages.
By coming back to those sites and looking at that history, it became very real to me and it almost came alive. Every generation that can actually visit those sites is one step closer to perhaps witnessing it in a sense. And it's an experience that I'm never going to forget.
$800 pure souls. How do you comfort a child? How can we stand here? What do we tell these children?
So here in this incredibly painful and yet incredibly holy place, we are seeking to make this about the future. The future connection. We're here in a place where children were murdered, where children were no longer able to connect with their parents forever. And we all need a takeaway, an action piece from being here, that we all are lucky enough to have the opportunity to connect with our parents. We need to strengthen ourselves in our commitment to that, in our intention, in the process. Not just that we tell our parents we love them and we know that they love us, but that becomes something actual. And these are letters from your parents. After you get the letter, everybody should please just walk away and find a little area on your own to read the letters from your parents. And I want to also, at the age and stage that you guys are all at, I want you to all take a moment and think about your future. Some of you are already parents. Some of you hope to be parents and have your own children. Stay connected to this place where things will last, and realize how lucky you are to have a future, to be parents, and how committed and how you want that to look. And then when we're done and find a place, we'll come back.
Be the parent that you wanted your parents to be.
Then, like, very often we use words like we want to go to a certain place and honor the victims. We want to be in a certain place to honor their memory. And it's the thing to say. Like, it sounds right, like it fits, like we're here for these people. But listening to all of you speak, like, it really, really hit me that, you know, those are just little innocent kids, very young, or teenagers. They didn't have a choice, obviously. And this was, 70 plus years ago. If they're looking down, if they knew that all these years later, a group of quality people would come here, connect as children, as we are all Bnei Yisrael, as we're all siblings, as we're all family, and share so vulnerably, so honestly, with so much hope, that's truly honoring these kids. That's really just bringing beauty, that from this tragedy, we're all gonna hopefully use this day, this moment, this place as a springboard for growth as individuals, as many people express, to be able to accept the disappointment in their parents, to be able to resolve to be great parents themselves, to be able to resolve to be better parents. Like, that's really honoring these people. That's what we did here today. That's what we did here now. So we're gonna finish, because that seems the style of our group, for the song. And we sang it actually for those that were on the porch the first night of the trip. The song was Zakeni. And firstly, just to take those two words, V'zakeni Lagado. Not everybody gets to grow up. Not everybody gets to have kids. So bracha to everybody that should merit to raise children, and that they should, Lagado, they should get big, not small like what happened here. They should get to grow. And then Ban Muvnei Vanim, and you should see more generations come after that. And here we saw the ultimate, insane, absurd, unfathomable darkness. They should bring light. And we should be able to bring light. So I want everyone to please give your full attention and welcome a new friend of ours, Angie, who just came all the way from Canada to be with us.
Invited me and Miriam. I am here because I was born in Auschwitz, and I know you're going there someday, and I will be with you. I used to go with the March of the Living Kids also, wipe of tears, and lots of tears and sorrow. So don't worry, I am used to it. So whenever I speak to her, and I work in the Holocaust Museum in Montreal, and other interviews, I always tell, that's not my story. This is my mother's story. Because I am here today to tell you the story, because she was really a hero. So in deeper, we will talk about it, and especially when we are there Sunday. But I want you to come to me and tell me if you have questions, or if you have sorrow, if you have happiness. Just let's connect, okay? Thank you for inviting me.
We're very lucky. I'll just thank Angie because Angie hasn't left her house for Surfel, Canada, and what she's done since COVID started. And when Rabbi asked her to join the trip, first she was a bit hesitant because she hasn't left, and then she said, no, this is something that I really want to do, and if I don't come, who will be there? And so we're filled with gratitude. Her children were a bit surprised that she left the house and didn't know what we did to convince her to actually come here. But we're extremely grateful that we have Angie, so thank you. So you can really see from this maybe small museum, you can see the richness of the life, and it's Friday, it's Erev Shabbos. You can just imagine the different talents, the different kegels, the different gefilte fish, the different chicken soup, and the different smells of challah that you would have smelled here. Or, lehavdil, the different yelling of, Maishi, come home, did you get Fredo, did you go get the challahs already, come on. And so we're gonna try today and re-step their footsteps.
Ari and Shana Yeager noticed, and a few other people also, this particular case with the Sefer Torah in here, which I'm sure for many, many of us brings us back to a song that we know from A.B. Rothberg. I'm just going to play it. For those that don't know it, it's very, very self-explanatory. But when we're listening to it, I think that a lot of us heard this song, and for those that didn't, you'll very quickly pick up the message. But being here, it just becomes more relevant, and in fact asks questions. When we heard it back there, maybe it was like a nice song, a nice tune, but seeing the contrast of the old and the new, and asking ourselves how it's relevant, so take some time to listen to the song.
I was made way back in 1842 by a humble man, a real God-fearing Jew, who did his work with honesty, feeling and with pride. He was known in Kiev as Yankala the scribe. And as the rabbi holds me close against his chest, he'll speak out loud and clear to all the rest. He'll say, no matter if you're very young or even if you're old, live by the words you'll find inside this scroll. Live by the words you'll find inside my soul.
some tears were flowing, and I see your faces, and really, it's just very hard to talk about it, but it's something unbelievable. It was so beautiful. I just wanted to stay in the moment. You probably do the same, right?
Yeah.
We'll find out inside. Please follow me inside. Chrissy, you ready?
I found out that I'm a direct descendant of the Rama. He was my 13th great grandfather. And then we're gonna go into the cemetery. There's the Bath Yule Circus. He was my 12th great grandfather. And probably most of the cemetery was related to me. At 19, he left yeshiva. And at 20, he became the rabbi of Krakow. And that's really young, but he was respected and accepted as the rabbi. He wrote many svarim, many commentary on Gemara, including halacha, Kabbalah, philosophy. He was very learned in all subjects. Now, being a descendant of such a holy person, I felt such a pressure that I need to be better, that I need to be a better Jew. And it really haunted me for a while. Do I need to keep more mitzvos? Do I need to give more tzedakah? But as I was preparing for this, something hit me. I think it's a bigger pressure to create your own destiny for the future generation. What does it mean to create your own destiny? What do you want your future generations to be like? What do you want them to learn from you? What do you want people to say about you when you die? You really have to think about it. I think it starts with a lot of internal work and accepting who you are, where you came from, and you have to accept the fact that you can't change your parents, you can't change your grandparents, you can't change where you come from, but you can change the future. One thing that I tell my kids and I tell everyone, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to keep all the mitzvos, maybe you do, but it's very overwhelming. Let's be real. But one thing I think that we all should work on is being a better person, accepting your friend for who they are, for their flaws, for being nice to people. Whatever it means to you to be a better person. And it takes a lot of internal work and it's very painful at times, but it's definitely worth it for the future generations.
Which a lot of this trip has been almost a call to us to connect our heritage and our roots, but because of the tragedy and because of the suffering and the pain, but also as a call to us to connect because of the beauty and because of what we've established, what we want to hold on to, and what was taken away, which is now our mission to hold on to. So I just wanted to share that thought with you.
I always want to be a little bit better. Just a tiny bit. Don't think big things, but just think about here when you are in this store. Close your eyes and just think, what could you improve in yourself? I will try to.
All these matzavot came from the roads of the street of the concentration camp in Plaszow that they made into streets. And after the war, they brought them and put them in a pile here. And what they did is they took these matzavot and put them on the wall to say, this is the koistel over here. We don't know where these people are buried. We don't know if they're even all from Krakow. But we know that the Nazis took them and made them into roads, into streets. And so you can go up to what we like to call kotel admaot, to the matzevos of people that we have no clue where they're buried. We only have a little bit of who they were, what they were. And you can see those matzevos. And so the Isaac Shul still stands here. The second reason we stopped here, and it's a reason and a half, is because I brought the rabbi and the rebbitzin to work. You can see the JCC Jewish Community Hillel, which is closed, and the half a reason is you can take a picture here next to the JCC.
Yeah! All right, let's go. Everybody against the wall.
There we go.
Let me tell you the essence of a human spirit. As you know, during the Holocaust, people were transported in the most inhuman way in rail cars. They thought they were going to work camps. We all know what they were going to do death camps. After hours and hours in inhuman coral with no light, no bathrooms in the freezing cold, they arrived at the camps. The doors were swung wide open, and they were blinded by the light. Men were separated from women, mothers from daughters, fathers from sons. Then they went off the barracks to sleep, with only one person in 6 given a blanket. The person who received the blanket had to decide, am I going to share the blanket with 5 other people who didn't get one, or am I going to use it myself to stay warm? It was during this defining moment that we learned the power of the human spirit, because we shared the blanket with 5 others. And with that, he stood up and said, take your blankets back to America and share them with 5 other people. So this is my suggestion. You go home and you get your friends and whatever you can and share what we learned here and what you saw here, because this is the essence of the Holocaust.
The 50,000 to 480,000 people in the Krakow ghetto. When the ghetto is liquidated, anyone that's left, we're talking about maybe 180,000 people at this point, anyone that's sentenced to live is sent to the camp of Plaszow. Plaszow, which the people from the ghetto were taken out to actually build. There's no Jews left in Krakow. At least officially, there's no Jews left. There's the Jewish babies, there's Jewish people who are hiding, but there's no Jews left.
Exactly 21 years ago, I came on a very short trip to Poland because I didn't want to be here for a whole week. We went to Auschwitz and then we came here to Krakow. And when we got here to Krakow, after we went to the camps, we saw like a rabbi walking down the street playing guitar, looked like a Karbach guy. And he said, oh, I'm going on a tour of the ghetto. Do you want to join? We said, sure. We followed him. Right as we walked right here past this spot, somebody rode by on his bike and yelled out, dirty effing Jews, get out. And I was like, so shocked. The rabbi just like continued walking. I was so shook. I was so disturbed. Like, here I am in a place learning about the atrocities of the Holocaust, and this is happening. We followed the rabbi, and I was just like, wanted to say something like, why are you okay with what just happened? But we just continued, and then we went. He took us to one of the cafes, and he sat down, and he plays guitar, Am Yisrael Chai. And I just remember sitting there, closing my eyes. I was 20 years old, and I made a firm decision at that moment. So this is a very profound place for me, that I will lead a outwardly Jewish trajectory. I will make sure to be proud of my Judaism. It was a formative time of my life. I was like you guys. I was in Hillel and RCC. So it's just weird to be back here 20 years later and think, well, I think I'm pretty outwardly Jewish. Yeah, everyone's going to have different moments here, and that was a sad thing to happen. Obviously, anti-Semitism is still real. And the way I actually asked the rabbi afterwards, I said, you didn't seem too bothered by that. He goes, oh, it happens all the time. Him responding that way says a lot. So let's be proud Jews.
Yeah, where's Connie?
We need to bring new life. There is going to be a tomorrow. We just have to get through today and tomorrow will come. So as we're going to end this first week, going to getting, I don't know if preparing, because we can never be prepared for a day like tomorrow. But as we start this new week, as we say goodbye to Shabbat and start this new week, and we look up in the sky to make sure that we have the 3 stars, we're looking up at the same sky that they saw. And we know that in some very odd way, they fought to do Havdalah here, and we with pride stand and do Havdalah. And may we be able to be blessed that we will always be able to shine our lights, not only our lights, but also continue. And we asked at the beginning, how do we leave? We're not the same person. We don't leave the exact same way that we came here. How are we going to leave? What other flame are we going to add to our flame? What are we going to take with us to make sure that their candle, their nail, will never turn off, will never shut off? And with that,
And we always have to remember that even in our darkest moments, we all have just as much power as the people who survived this crazy thing, this crazy war. And we always have the power to move on in life and move forward and become stronger and make a good scratch into this world, leave some memory, we can change the world. Each one of us, we all can change the world, even in the darkest times. Sometimes our lives look so dark, their lives looked so dark. They came out of it and they were even way more stronger than they went into it. And so we have to remember that.
Mizgavlanu Eloye Yahakoy Selo Ayidim Layidim Aisayra Visimba Vesasavika Layidim Layidim Aisayra Visimba Vesasavika Layidim Layidim Aisayra Visimba Vesasavika Layidim Layidim Aisayra
Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power. Ooh, yeah. Some people live just to live again. Some people think that the physical thing defines what's within. Yeah, time is free. Some just
Everything under the sky. Whether it's the work's going to set you free, don't worry, you're just coming to work, that will be fine. In the entrance, as people are walking in, there's an orchestra playing to kind of give you the idea of everything's okay. There's even a band, there's the normality of it. You're going, you're working, there's music. Other people said they used to play to a certain beat and the inmates had to march to that beat. Those who do not remember the past, a nation that doesn't remember its past, is a nation that won't have a future. How do we remember? And locations that have camps around them, but the only extermination that's happening by the end of 43, beginning of 44, is here in Auschwitz. They say it's a massive waste of our time. They're getting off here in the train station and then we're walking them for 10 minutes. It's a waste of power, it's a waste of time. We need to be more efficient. And they're going to build tracks, they're going to divert the tracks and build them that the train goes straight into the gates of Birkenau. Every single picture that we have today of deportations, of every single picture that we're going to see inside is from this same album. You'll notice, and Elie Wiesel says this in this book. He says it in his book Night. He says it was 1944, and us Hungarian Jews did not know what Auschwitz was. 1944, and we never heard about Auschwitz. They're clueless. We know that 97% of the people here are going to be sent straight to the gas chambers. We know that. We know that this is people's last 5 minutes alive. We know that. They're coming from a normal, regular war life, but they're coming from a life. In this, I'll call them the Jews, the welcoming committee. The welcoming committee is, I like how you put it. It says, I got off the train. I'm standing there with my father, and suddenly there's a voice behind me that is telling me, how old are you? And he said 14. He says, no, you're 18. And he's asking my father how old I am. And his father says 40. He said, no, you're 40. Look at this picture. This is one of two. Who took it? A Jew? This is one of the two pictures taken by a Jew. This is a picture of women, and these are Jewish women you can see over here. They're being taken towards the gas chambers. It's pretty unclear in the back. When we walk out, you'll see there's another picture over there of the actual gas chambers. How did the person get the picture? How does the person have the camera? Great question. Anyone want to try and guess? This is a massive act of resistance. Saying and screaming, I don't know if there's any Jew that's going to survive, but the world needs to know what happened to us. The world needs to know. The world needs the pictures. And so I'll draw, so I'll write, and I'll hide. But then when they find a camera, they take it. They were brought into this gas chamber, which is underground, and the doors were closed. Different than Majdanek, it is not carbon monoxide. Here they had enough time to test, to use blueprints. They actually use the gas of Zyklon B. You can see on top. The top floor are the crematoriums. They would pile out the bodies straight from the gas chambers into the crematorium. And they either filled up the ashes in boxes and poured it in the Wasilla River that we saw, or that crosses all of Poland, or at certain points they would actually pour them and dump them outside, right outside the areas of the gas chambers, where we'll see when we go to Birkenau. You'll see the leftover canisters of Zyklon B, all used. Look, you'll see the talis, the talitot. I can take one bag. I can take things in my hand. I can take things in my pocket. What am I not taking? What am I leaving and what am I taking? What future could the child have? How many steps did the child take in his first choose? How much hope did the parents have for him? I promised Ovadia that I'll tell his wife's story here. Ovadia is a young boy from Saloniki, speak through the walls of the factory, and he promises her that don't worry, when the war is over, we are going to get married. They both survive, but when I arrived to the camp, I was taken by Klaubel, Jewish doctors, and had them be accomplices and help with every single medical procedure that they did. Most of the time, Klauber would actually stand and say, I want so-and-so, take out the uterus, take out the ovaries, take out the tubes, tie the tubes, do this, take one uterus from one woman and put it in another woman, take a uterus from a woman, put it in a man. He would tell them exactly what to do, but the Jewish doctors actually performed it on the body. I don't have my ovaries. I don't have my 2 ovaries. I can't be pregnant. And the guy says, I'm sorry, you're mistaken. You are missing 1 ovary, but you have another ovary there. What happens, she later says, is that what she found out that day that she was taken into surgery, she looks up at Shmuel, the doctor, says, how dare you? How dare you as a Jew do this? Don't ever forget my faith. Little did she know that he couldn't do this. He couldn't perform, and every surgery that he performed, he actually made sure to leave something that the woman could have a child. He was risking his own life to ensure that maybe, somehow, this woman could have a future. This mother will be able to bring more children into the world. Of life, Sefer Chaim. Find it's set alphabetically. Look for your name. Auschwitz. No one had ever heard that name. Auschwitz itself has the capacity of holding 100,000 people. Auschwitz, different than any other camp, was the only camp that numbers were actually tattooed on people's arms. We're standing here on our last day. How are we walking out? We're gonna walk out. We're gonna walk out led by Angie. We're gonna walk out and do what Angie's mother Vera did on the 27th of January, 1945. We're gonna do the same. And when we walk out, we take all those that didn't. We take those that didn't, we take those that did, and we vow, remember and never forget. Please, led by Angie, let's walk into the camp. Most of us, when we go to the bathroom, we usually go alone. No one has individual privacy, and no one has enough time. So if your stomach is runny, or if you're constipated, or anything, you don't necessarily have the amount of time that you could want in the bathroom. If you would have arrived here a few years ago, this car wouldn't have been here.
To say, and they got off from the train. But look how they had to jump off from the train.
And think about the train with your rabbi, with your teacher, with your parents, with your family, with your enemies, your frenemies, and everyone there. Everyone's in one train. There's no room to lay down. There's no room to stand. They didn't sleep. People sleep on top of each other. People are like sleeping, standing.
And the dead and the alive didn't go together.
My grandfather and his brother both survived the war, and his brother, Chona Friedman, put on tefillin every single day in Auschwitz. And he survived, and my grandfather survived. He was in Auschwitz. He survived because he was online for the gas chamber, and he was told he was too pretty to die.
So who pulled him out?
A German. A German pulled him out of the line and said he was too pretty.
Great-grandmother was deported, I don't know the exact date, from Romania and brought to Auschwitz, and she was here for about 3 months and then transported to a different camp where she was liberated. When she made it to Auschwitz, she was seen by Mengele, and he addressed her, and she told him that she's a Fräulein, or I think am I saying that right? Which is a nicer word for a woman, and he smacked her to the ground and told her that there are no Jewish Fräuleins, and somehow let her go.
Some of her story with us now, and so thank you, Auntie.
So first of all, we send it to you. Miriam sent it to you, and I wanted you to hear from my mother's mouth what she's going to tell you the whole story and A to Z. That was the first time she told the story, like sat down basically with my daughter, because she never wanted to talk about it, but this was a homework, and by us, education was priority, and because it was a homework, she was telling her the story.
Take a moment to really remember the victims, not only of right here, but of all what we've encountered throughout the trip by saying Kaddish. And as we know, Kaddish is generally said by someone who has lost a parent. It's considered not a good omen to say the mourner's Kaddish when your parents are alive. And unfortunately, in Nissim's case, his father has passed. But that's going to give him the opportunity on behalf of the whole group to say Kaddish.
I'm saying Kaddish for the 6 million Jews. I'm saying Kaddish for my family. I'm saying Kaddish for people that don't have the chance to say Kaddish for. And I'm also saying Kaddish for the people that are here that lost their loved ones, intimate family, extended family, and whatever. Oh, and one more thing. A lot of people, when they give a blessing, they say, we wish you a lot of Richas Yamim. Richas Yamim means long days. Why don't we say long months, long life, long years? It is because us as Jews, we live in the moment and only on the moment. So I hope you guys can take that and bring that in somewhere in your life where you can really focus on the moment. Skada v'skada shmei davo.
Hail Mole Rachamim, Shoychem Bamroim, Amtzei Menichun Nechoena.
There's a kitchen here, which basically I know that my grandmother at points worked in the kitchen. So she was 10 years old in the World War II when the Nazis invaded Poland. My grandmother lived in a city named Lodz, which some of you I know also have grandparents that survived that were from Lodz.
And after Jazila Perel. Jazila Perel, who, if anyone here is connected to Mount Sinai Hospital or is from Borough Park, you might have heard the name, to find the pregnant women and going to experiment on the pregnant women. And she insisted that she wasn't going to retire till she brings double the amount of kids that she took their unborn life in Auschwitz. And so Gisela Perel, who was called the angel here in Auschwitz, the one that so many mothers were scared and nervous and didn't want to see her, the ones that she quietly convinced to save their own life, that one day they'll be able to bring more children into the world. Told you, Auschwitzim was called Ushpizin because all the guests that came here.
Under your guidance and leadership, you managed to not only teach us in sharing the wealth of information and knowledge that you have, but you did it in a sensitive way, you did it in a graceful way, you did it in the best possible to even make it fun and we always loved hearing from Miriam from the front of the bus. So, and you infuse the whole message, not only of the Holocaust and what happened, but of everything that went on here in Europe, whether it had to do with the shuls that we went to the Kivrei Tzadikim that we went to the memorial sites that we went to the cemeteries that we went to. Every possible way, you brought the maximum meaning and significance and made it relevant to all of us, which was a huge gift. And as it says on the back of the shirt that you were wearing today, you really taught us that despite everything we've gone through, Am Yisrael Chai. So I actually have, Eli Shama has hopefully rescued it. The point is, this is actually a beautiful necklace, which actually made by a friend of mine. And it says on it, Am Yisrael Chai, with the Magen David in the middle. So I hope you're going to like it. I hope you're going to wear it. And thank you very much. Miriam.
Feel this is for us and this is just what, and she doesn't tell the things like I told this 100 times. She tells it like it just came out today, and it's fresh, and the review is, I tell you, if it would be a Nobel Prize for guiding, you would get it. Yeah. Right?
Hey Hilla, being able to film and capture your testimonies and stories and interactions over these last couple days, this last week, has been an incredible privilege and an honor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity of a lifetime. My hope for this documentary is that watching it over will re-inspire you so that everything you experienced here can echo into your future.